Hello, I'm Kaya.
And I'm Tiffany.
And this is Africa News Now. Today we will be discussing and taking a step back in history about the old Africa.
Yes, this is a very important event.
This is the Atlantic slave trade. The slave trade started around the 15th century. Europeans decided to seek trade routes to Southeast Asia, giving them access to trading gold and spices. There were many different attempts. A man named Christopher Columbus had the idea of sailing west. Prince Henry decided to sail to the coast of Africa. Only when Prince Henry sailed to the coast, it became less and less about the gold and spices. They started to export African slaves. The first slave exporting African slaves from all over Africa. No one cared about exporting gold and spices. Everyone was just too busy exporting slaves. That is how it became the Atlantic slave trade.
This went on for 400 years. Finally, in 1804, Haiti was the first black republic in the world to ban slavery. Thanks to the leadership of ex-slaves Toussaint Louverture and Aluda Equiano, in 1807, Britain banned slavery, and following shortly after was Holland, France. Slavery was finally banned in the United States in 1884.
Everyone who participated willingly were Portugal, Britain, France, Spain, Netherlands, and the U.S. This affected them because they never had to do hard labor again. Life was so much easier for them because they had their slaves doing all the hard work.
The Africans were the ones who participated unwillingly. This affected them because they never got to live a good life. Their life was filled with labor and torture. Not only did the original slaves that were exported have a bad life, but so did their children.
No one really knows how the European nations conquered Africa. All we know is that Portugal, Britain, France, Spain, Netherlands, and the U.S. teamed up together. Supposedly, they split up, covered different parts of Africa, and then conquered it.
Colonialism began in the early ages of the start of Africa and what it is today. It changed everything. Colonialism is all around a bad thing. Colonialism is a political system and where an external nation takes the complete control of a territory in another area of the world. To make things worse, colonialism is not invited to take over a piece of the world, nor do the people have a say in any laws this political system makes. Colonialism was practiced different through different parts of Africa. Therefore, different places in Africa had different consequences, although there were various rules that were the same within each colonialism part of Africa.
Tiffany, the 5 rules that were applied in all of Africa are listed below. The first rule is that the colonialism people were interested in large lots of land for planting and farming different crops. Although the different foods and things they made were mainly and strictly for exporting, not for logical use. High demand for labor. At times, the colonial system was so desperate they made labor forced for some people. The second rule is split families. Families were split up due to migration. They went through lots of stress since moms and children had to take new roles when men and their husbands left as minors. 3. Convergence of religions. Colonialism was a big influence on Africa. They believed is Islam as their religion. Therefore, they provided a big influence on being Islam beliefs. Therefore, the Christian belief was less than 5% in all Africa. Now, Africa's Christian belief has rose to more than 50%. The last and final rule is education. With limited government support, most African children did not go to school during the colonial era. In fact, at the end of the colonial era, no colony could boast that more than half of their children finished elementary school, and far fewer attended secondary school.
Rules remained the same from switching from colonialism to independence, although they had a few laws that they changed dramatically or simply just took them out. The most important legacy of colonialism is how it divided Africa into more than 50 states from their boundaries did not matter where the African citizens lived and how they set up divisions of policy. A second important legacy of colonialism was how it affected the African people economically. Another important legacy was how they were introduced to European race and social superiority. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Kaya, and we're signing off. Thank you.
And have a good day.